Go ahead.
Yes,
Hey, Roger, you good?
okay, I'd like to call this, that's not working. Oh, it is? Oh, is that working? No, Matt? Yeah. Okay, I'd like to to open the St. Charles County Council meeting of July 31st. The first thing on the agenda is a closed meeting. I need a motion to go into closed meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we go into closed session per state statute RSMO 610.0211.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Okay.
Roll
Roll call vote?
To go into closed session, Councilmember Swanson,
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Brazel, Councilmember Elam,
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond,
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander,
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
We are now in closed session. Thank you. To call this meeting to order, I need a motion to return to open meeting, please.
So moved?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, we are now in open session, and we will begin tonight with invocation by Father Joe Warmack from All Saints Catholic Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Dave Hammond. Please stand.
O Lord of all creation, you made us in your image and likeness, as Genesis mentions. We call upon your wisdom to be with the County Council and the people of St. Charles County. We ask your grace and blessing so that all can be heard and listened to this evening. We ask for the patience to be able to listen, especially when our thoughts and views are different from others. We ask for your wisdom upon this county council to listen intently and to ask the questions which help them to make good decisions. May the result of our meeting this evening be for the good of the county and the people who live here. We ask your blessings and presence with us this evening. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we need to do roll call, Donna?
Councilmember Matt Swanson.
Here, ma'am.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here?
Councilmember Terry Hollander.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Nancy Schneider. Here. Councilmember Tim Baker.
Here.
Okay. We will begin tonight with the conditional use permits for final passage, beginning with Bill number 5199.
Bill number 5199, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 22-16 for a landscaping contracting service to JAB Real Estate Services LLC property owners.
Is there any questions or comments by anyone on the council? Seeing none, please call the roll.
An ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 22-16 for a landscaping contracting service to JAB Real Estate Services LLC property owners. Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Okay, Bill number 5199 passes. Next up for consideration is Bill number 5200.
Bill number 5200, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-08 for a storage yard for recreational vehicles, boats, trailers, and trucks to DHKS Investments LLC property owners.
Terry, I got a question.
Yes.
Donna, did we get an email to table this one? Okay, so I make a motion to table this.
Second?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this Bill number 5200 has been tabled. Next up is Bill number 5201.
Bill number 5201, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-09 for housing units in the R1E district on lots 60 feet wide and with side yards 6 feet in width to Mary E. Blankenship, Ted L. Gooch, Laura J. Roosh, Gail A. Wilmus, Joan M. Grelly, and Richard F. Gooch, property owners, and Payne Family Homes, LLC applicant.
Okay, please call the roll on
Hold
50.
on, Terry. Comments?
We're not allowed to. Public record's already closed.
Is that correct?
Yes. Okay, please call the roll.
An ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-09 for housing units in the R1E district on lots 60 feet wide and with side yards 6 feet in width to Mary E. Blankenship, Ted L. Gooch, Laura J. Roosh, Gail A. Wilmus, Joan M. Grelly, and Richard F. Gooch, property owners, and Payne Family Homes, LLC applicant. Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
No.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
No.
Councilmember Schneider?
No.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
No.
Okay, the 5201 fails, and we now move to Bill number 5202.
Bill number 5202, an ordinance granting conditional use permit CUP 23-07 for housing units in the R1E district with a minimum lot width of 60 feet and a minimum side yard setback of 6 feet to Tall Tree Farm LP and Canine Country Kennel and Farm LLC property owners.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to table this bill.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, bill number 5202 has been tabled.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
in the sense of all the folks who are here with interest to this, can we explain a little bit about what tabling means
Yes.
in this particular case? So there's been a lot of people who have asked, hey, we know you're going to table this, but what does that mean? So what that means is this goes on a table and it can sit there for up to 15 meetings or 6 months. And it can be there for every meeting. But it can be taken off the table at any additional meeting that we come to between now and those 15 meetings. So it could be pulled off at any given time. This particular one, the developer is asked to go back and speak with the landowner to try and get a deal done. Then they would, I think it's fair to say, because of the efforts that you all have put forward, the developer has heard your concerns, and we're being told that they would like the opportunity to bring back something that reflects what the community has said. What that looks like, the council doesn't know right now, but that's what the tabling is like. We would do our best to let you know before this comes off the table of what we're being considering and when we're going to do that. But just in the interest of what does tabling mean, that's what tabling means.
Okay. I need
With
a
that, I
motion.
would make a motion to amend the agenda and pull bill number 5207 forward to be considered next.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Second.
Opposed? Okay. Yes, we have a second.
With that, I would also make the motion to table this bill based on what we did on the previous bill.
Second.
I'll
For
need
the
to
same
read the
reason.
titles first, please.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, that's all right. Bill number 5207, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A agricultural district to R1E single-family residential district per revised application RZ 23-06.
Now I'd make the motion to table this bill using the same reasoning. from
I'll
last
second.
time.
Okay.
Comments?
What's that?
Comments?
Yes.
Comments?
Just so everybody knows, just because we're tabling it, don't mean you can't publicly speak, because I know a lot of you folks want to still talk about this, so we welcome that. So it is being tabled, like Mr. Elam said. We have had talks with the developer, and the developer is trying to negotiate with the landowner to get the cost down per acre so he can put 3-acre lots on the second half, and we're still talking about the northern half. So this is still a developing process. Due to all your guys' efforts, it's been tremendous. I'm very proud of everybody for sticking up for our rural characteristics of our county. It's very, very proud of y'all.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table this particular bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this particular bill has been tabled. Next on our agenda is public comments, and I'd like to remind folks that public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We will take 3 speakers for and 3 speakers against on any particular subject, although the council does reserve the right to extend the number of speakers if we have a particular topic in which there's more interest. So we also would like to have you fill out a card so that we can know who is speaking and have a public record of who that is. So starting off, Claire, would you like to?
Regarding tall tree bred goss.
Mr. Goss.
I'll waive my comments since you tabled the bill.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Don Ladwig.
Well, while that's coming up, I'll go ahead and start. Good evening. My name is Don Ladwig, and I live at 26 Tremaine Court in St. Charles County. Obviously, these bills have been tabled, so the narrative has changed just a little bit. What I hope can happen is that we can get a good plan developed that can be brought back to the council for a vote. I'm not opposed to development. Good development can help grow our county in a way that's advantageous to the residents. The developer states that the northern area calls for 1 to 4 dwelling units per acre, but does not include that the master plan also calls for lot sizes from approximately 1/4 to 1 acre. This means no lots less than approximately 1/4 acre. The master plan in the southern area also states lots generally 3+ acres. The overwhelming majority of lots do not meet that criteria. Thus, the proposed development, from at least what it is now, does not meet the master plan. If you vote yes, which obviously won't happen tonight, please consider adding lighting requirements to help preserve our dark skies for our families and children who enjoy Brommel's Lake Astronomy Site and bush wildlife, both gems within our county. The Missouri cities of Ellisville and Ozark have dark sky ordinances. The developers stated that they're trying to be dark sky compliant. Make that offer measurable. Pick the Ellisville codes of 400, 492, and 493 and ask them to be compliant with that. Vote no. While it's the developer's right to approach O'Fallon regarding annexation, which has come up, it's also the right of the citizens to challenge it. A challenge can only happen if you vote no. There are many issues that can be challenged just by reading the statute and applying them to this case. For example, is the development contiguous and compact to the existing city limits? Various annexations have successfully been litigated in the Missouri courts. The developer has claimed 3 regions that touch O'Fallon. A review using the St. Charles Public Web Map shows that one region does not exist and another is only a partial connection. This cuts the claimed contiguous boundary to only 4/10 of a mile, which is only 8.5% of the total perimeter. That doesn't seem very contiguous to the existing city limits to me. Let me leave you with an interesting quote from the Missouri Court of Appeals in the Eastern District of Missouri. The case is Dotson versus the city of Wentzville from 2007, right here in our own county. The case involves what's called flat annexations. The city argued that the compactness required by section 71.014 was established by its comprehensive plan and its city map. The city further argued that such flag annexations have been the custom and practice of both the city and other cities in the St. Charles County area.
Okay,
If
thank
we
you,
were
thanks,
to-
sir. Yeah, your 3 minutes is,
Can we let him finish? Can,
If we were to allow a city's comprehensive plan and its own custom and practices to determine whether the requirement of compactness has been met, each city might become the final arbiter by altering its comprehensive plan and modifying its custom and practices. Likewise, the argument that flag annexations have been the custom and practice of other cities in the county is unavailing. We must determine whether, as a matter of law, the legislature's requirement of compactness has been met in this annexation case.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Our
sir.
poll star
Sir.
is the legislature's intent, not the custom and practice of the various cities.
Sir, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Claire?
William Carrier.
Good evening, members of council. My name is William Carrier, and I represent Citizens for Smart Growth in St. Charles County. There'll be 3 speakers from our organization tonight. Also like to speak on annexation. While we believe it's unlikely for O'Fallon to pursue annexation, our team has developed a strategy for a strong challenge against such in accordance with Missouri State Statutes 71014, 012, and 015. We've engaged highly experienced legal counsel and conducted quantified analyses of whether the subject land would comply with the statutory requirements. My friend Mr. Ladwick has already corrected the developer's chart on contiguity. We believe that O'Fallon would pursue annexation under Missouri Statute 71014, which provides for such if the property owners in the municipality agree. The statute requires the land to be, quote, contiguous and compact, end quote, with current municipality. Legally, a compact territory requires, quote, all of its parts to be closely joined or densely packed spatially, end quote. This subject land fails to meet this requirement. Since compact is a subjective term, we've developed a geometric analysis which quantifies it and makes it more easily discernible. We divided O'Fallon into 4 areas which cover the bulk of its current limits. Each of these areas is bounded by major roads, natural features like creeks or rivers, and current city limits. Starting with the total acreage of each area, we subtracted all the land that isn't O'Fallon, that is unincorporated St. Charles County and other municipalities. We then divided the net O'Fallon area by the total bounded area to obtain what we call a percent compactness. The values for each are shown here. The current compactness of Area 4, which is the area abutting the proposed development, is 58%. A lot of open space there. We then applied statistical measures to the percent compactness of the areas, yielding a median or middle value of 68% and a standard deviation, or the statistically significant range of variation of plus or minus 12%. Thus, based on O'Fallon's past growth and annexation, the lowest allowable amount of compactness is 56%. However, when the proposed development is added to Area 4, that area expands and its resulting compactness falls to 52%, lower than the city's own past performance and thus failing a key requirement of 71014. In the interest of time, I'll skip the detailed descriptions of our robust challenges to statutes 012 and 015. However, it is clear to us that the development's land fails to meet first the 1/4 mile dimensional requirement of 012, and then also under numerous scenarios, the 15% of perimeter contiguity requirement of 71015. Through our analysis of Missouri case law, we will bring credible and strong legal challenge against any O'Fallon annexation. This ensures the decision-making power regarding this development remains with you on the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Sean Mann.
Mr. Mann.
Hi, my name's Sean Mann. I live at 3809 Rooster Ridge Lane in Defiance, Missouri. I'm going to jump to a few slides here that I can share with you. Don did a great job of pointing something out that was really important to this discussion tonight, is that I think what council members you may know or may not know, we'll get to the point here, is that the entire development in question only abuts 3-acre properties and 3-acre neighborhoods. The presentation that was shared at the last meeting by the developers team was very misleading, and Don already pointed out, I know you can't really see on this map, happy to show you after, there's actually a nice dog leg around Foxwood Estates, so this development doesn't even touch Preston Woods. So there's also just a big question about, hey, what is the density that we're really looking at as part of these neighborhoods that this parcel really touches? So every single one of those, well, the top 5, Wild Turkey Run, Spartan Estates, the Highway Double D Homes, Avondale, Foxwood Estates, those are the only properties that this parcel in question or parcels touch. Those are all 3-acre properties or greater. There's nothing, even Westlake is kind of misleading because it really doesn't touch it. It's kind of cut off from the GIS map. So please keep that in mind when the developer or the developer sitting over there, please keep in mind is you develop these properties, make it like a 3-acre neighborhood. Next piece I'd like to get to really quick is just about the concerns with the CUP impacts that were discussed at the last meeting. Frankly, all of these were very misleading in the last part. Is it not detrimental, or does this not endanger public health, safety, or the general welfare? Well, it does. I won't get into the points on the concerns and the detail here. Is this development not injurious to the use or enjoyment of other property? Well, that's false. As it would be developed, it would be injurious and to the enjoyment of other property. Does it not injure the aesthetic and or scenic values of the vicinity? Well, it would. You tear it down, you put high-density homes, it does. Does it not substantially diminish the impaired property values within the neighborhood? Could you reasonably discern this by what you would see in the neighborhood between a large lot development or a high-density development? Make your own decisions. And does this not impede the orderly development, improve the surrounding property? It would not. Get to one more slide here, and then I'll there's a nice visual. What would you rather see? Kind of fields, open space, or a fence line and homes that are maybe about 12 feet from each other? Just a few other points. Any of the development referred to common ground in the developer's previous or proposal. Indeed, they were non-usable space. It's either floodplain or high density.
3 minutes are up, sir.
Okay, last one. And so what could something look like? Here's something that it could look like. 3-acre developments in the south,
Sir,
high.
you're 3 minutes
Perfect.
up.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to be rude, but
That was 3 against. We have
that was 3 against.
We have 13 more speaker cards against.
Do I have a consensus that maybe would allow 4 more speakers?
Showed up here tonight, we got lots of
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah. Would 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, please understand, folks, that we have received the 300 emails, and we've all read all of those. So, in our opinion, there is very, very little new that can be offered. We certainly respect your opinions. We certainly appreciate the fact that you've come out in very large quantities. So we will allow more speakers. I would like to suggest
Go
6. Okay, we'll allow 6 more speakers, and Claire, kind of shuffle them up and come up with 6.
Okay,
You're speaking on that topic.
On that topic, on the tall tree topic, yes.
Greetings and good evening. Like I said last time, I live in the city of St. Charles, but I do my business for Stars out in Bromwich Park. The developer mentioned using on the map an area that ties into Bromwich from Double D and Strady for development for later use, but he's claimed it's
Sir,
going to be set
could you
aside.
lean into that mic a little bit?
There you go.
Sorry.
That's all right.
But as I said, on the slide, it said, could be developed for later use. Yet he said he was setting it aside so it would not affect the astronomy. Plus also, he mentioned HOAs. I'm not bag-mouthing all HOAs, but lately there have been quite a few in the news who have gone completely out of control. And I'm afraid that if they do take over, if one is established, they will try and take over the park and control who can have access to the facilities. You're going to look at more crime out there. Mainly people will be vandalizing the park left and right. And that will take away from your kids, granted my kids if I ever have any, and our future generations from learning about space and all the beautiful, what we can imagine to be in heavens and above. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Gail Rourke.
Hi. My concerns were pretty similar to everybody else's. The road is tough. It's dangerous. The schools are overcrowded. I don't know if anybody realizes that the cell service out there is not very good. I'm not sure if any of these homeowners know that. And also the internet choices aren't very good either. So if they ever do this development, they might consider some of the areas around for internet service and cell service.
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Gary Griffin.
Mr. Griffin.
Gary Griffin, 154 Quail Run Drive, Defiance, Missouri. I think I know probably about 4,000 people behind me and not present. I was on planning and zoning for 14 years. I know a lot of you, Relman, staff. Just something positive. I listened to Mr. Goss. What I would propose is to have a traffic study done Monday through Friday, 24/7, and a Saturday and Sunday, 24/7, with one of those tables that go across the road for a car count. Preferably in school or out school. The traffic studies that Mr. Goss presented was not when all the businesses in Defiance was open. The traffic down there was very curtailed. Joe knows we're agricultural entertainment, and I spoke at a lot of planning and zoning meetings. On a good weekend, we get more traffic down there than the St. Louis Zoo and the Science Center combined. But I think you need so you guys can make a definitive, good decision. An independent road study needs to be made. And that's it.
Thank you, sir.
I didn't use my 3 minutes.
Stephen Farber.
I'm Stephen Farber, 1345 Schwady Road. I'm going to talk really fast, I only have 3 minutes. I represent Citizens for Smart Growth in St. Charles County. To start, I want to thank you for the time and patience you've shown regarding this development over the past couple of months. I know many of you have changed your mind about this project, and we truly appreciate your flexibility and your concern. We want to let the council know that we don't object to growth in our area of the county. We don't object to development. We know it's inevitable. We object to development plans that make a mockery of the county's carefully designed master plan. We object to subdivisions that dramatically and recklessly change the character of this part of the county that makes it so desirable in the first place. We're not opposed to subdivisions or home builders. They're not the enemy here. We all live in homes built by home builders. The builders will build on whatever size lots are made available to them. It's all a matter of the original design of the subdivision created by the developer. If he creates a subdivision with tiny homes crammed together in clusters of tiny lots like Tall Tree, the home builders will have to build that. But if he creates a subdivision with large home sites spread out like every single neighborhood or property that touches Tall Tree, then the home builders will build that. In that case, everyone wins. The developer creates a subdivision, the builder builds and sells his homes, families have the opportunity to join this remarkable part of the county, and the people that already live here won't have to suffer the insult to our land and way of life that is currently being proposed. There's a very important distinction to make about this area of the county. This is not like any other area. You can't compare this to any other subdivision in O'Fallon or St. Peter's. People move out to those areas just to live there. They don't have much emotional attachment. They live there until it's time to live somewhere else. But people in our part of the county see the land as part of them. It's our identity. For many of us, the land represents generations of family, strong roots, a bloodline. The land is deeply and profoundly meaningful in our lives, our families, and our histories. We don't take lightly to someone coming along and treating it like it's a disposable paper napkin crumpled up and thrown into a trash can. We only ask that any development in our part of the county respects us, our families, and the land that is so sacred to us. The carefully designed master plan isn't just a suggestion. It's what we all count on to keep our homes and lifestyles secure and safe. We want a neighborhood that is built within the land, the hills and the trees, not one that flattens the hills and decimates the trees. I'm very pleased to hear that the development is trying to redesign the subdivisions with lot sizes that fit the master plan. If it does, from the top all the way to the bottom, then our group will not oppose it. But if it continues to insult us and the master plan with tricky misrepresentations about compliance, then we will continue our opposition as strongly as we can for as long as it takes. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Claire.
Therese Laposa.
Good evening. I'm Therese. I live off of Old Colony, been out here for 30-something years. I know you've heard all the opinions and what we think about what might happen, but things I've been thinking about are subdivisions that have already gotten approval, like off of Hopewell Road. There's 1,400 houses off of there, which is 2,800 more cars. The thoroughfares are Dyer Street, Dyer Road, and Schwady Road, which go to Double D, which means that overflow traffic will hit Double D as well. Then if the Summers gets approved as well, that's over 100 more cars. And the thoroughfare again is N or Double D off of Summers, which will crowd us even more. I know you understand all the points of the driving in the streets, but one thing is the kids, like all the kids that we're talking about that may be moving out, or the schools for them. They don't have anything to do out here. There's no activities hardly. There's no way to keep them busy, no fun stations or four-wheel tracks or, skate parks or anything to keep them busy. So all these kids you talk about that may come out with developments, as we talk about Dwight opening the schools and making them bigger, there's nothing for them to do that a kid would want to do out here unless we provide these visions for them. Another one is I've been talking to people in the neighborhood, and another thought I had for the development of those properties is the farm that's there, Squire's family. That one farm is there, it's already made, established, and I've been talking seriously to our neighbors about everybody contributing and buying that and making it a community farm. Because everything's there, we just need the people, the livestock, and the vegetation. And there's more retired people out here that would be happy to join in and take that as our own. Also, the canine country, same thing. Why can't we just keep that the way it is? It's been succeeding for all these years. And with that in mind, which used to be Sorensen's shooting range, all the shells and lead that has been there from shooting, there's been no documentation of that getting cleaned up and making it a safe place for development or even land use there. So just some things outside of the box to think about. I just really feel strong that you'll vote when it comes time to do the right thing for us, because we hired you and your job is to protect us and represent us and make sure we're safe and happy in our dwellings. And I think we all depend on you to keep that for us, and I thank you for doing that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Stephen Hetcha. Jacka.
Okay, I'm not prepared to really give you facts or anything, but I want to give you, everybody here, a little insight to where my head is at. I moved out to Defiance, so I'm at 2126 South Highway 94. In the past 2 years, we've seen big money come in from Florida and buy up our town. We've seen Defiance Roadhouse get sold to the same individual, the bicycle shop. We've seen the Terry and Kathy's Bar get sold to the same company, family of companies. They're buying up this, that, and anything that they want to buy up. Behind my house, in the last year, Lombardo, another out-of-state conglomerate, has purchased 99 acres behind me, taken the woods out, taken the deer out, leveled it, as one of the ladies said. Very little trees left. Wildlife is gone. We used to have deer behind our house, turkey, all that. It's not there anymore. Fortunately, they put up, I believe it's 5-acre lots. They were going to put up 33-acre lots, I think it was, but that got changed. Thank God it did. I know Joe. I've met him on a couple times. I just wonder when it's going to stop. You know, how do we get to the point where
the council authorizes these big conglomerates to come in. Is somebody getting paid under the table? I don't understand it. Our taxpayer dollars go to your salaries, everybody else, I'm not opposed to it, but like one individual said, let's put it on a bigger scale and keep our community and our small town the way it is. And the hell with annexation. We want Defiance to stay like Defiance. My taxes have gone up 50% in 10 years. Okay, that's good for investment purposes, but I'm on a fixed income. I don't get no more money. When's it gonna stop? That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, sir.
On bill number 5204.
That was the final speaker for Talltree. Okay, next speaker.
On bill number 5204, Ian Thomas Smith.
I really thought when I came here tonight, I would disagree with a lot of the audience, but I hear lots and lots and lots of 3-acre lots and how 3-acre lots are wonderful. My husband and I live right next to the Lombardo development or proposed development, Saxony Ridge. And you're being asked to take it from a 5-acre minimum to a 3-acre minimum. My husband and I own 54 acres there, and we support this change. We want you to approve this. We think Lombardo will build a quality home. They use union labor. We don't think 28 homes on that parcel will impact our traffic terribly. We don't think it will overcrowd our schools. When I look at the development of a sanitary sewer on Hopewell, my question that I would love to know, how many homes can that accommodate? And does that encompass Highway Z? Because I don't think a lot of us appreciate what that will look like in terms of a development in the future. You could have 4 homes to the acre, 5 homes to the acre. 3-acre lots with 28 homes makes sense to me. We adjoin that property on both the north and the east side. We touch more of that property than any other landowner. And we really want you to approve this so that we don't get something that we won't want. I'm not saying Talltree's a bad development, but I wouldn't want it in my backyard just like everyone else. 3-acre minimums make sense to me, and I would strongly encourage you to vote for this because it's good for Wentzville. It's good for our part of the county. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chris Eager.
Okay, 3 minutes, buckle up. I respectfully disagree with the previous speaker. She owns 54 acres. Well, what about Donna Hess? 30 acres. What about Kenneth Hamilton? Not to mention his farm of 40 acres, he has 66 acres. Okay, these are all within the bounds that we've been held to in order to vote and gather signatures and the people that the council says matter. 2,000 feet, 1,000 feet, whatever. Now, what I was gonna say, so there's a lot of cliche arguments we can make. We've done them all before. It's not what we're gonna do right now. Let's use the own developer's justification for how they're building this against themselves. Glen Oaks, right? 3-acre subdivision right up the street, half a mile, that's fine. Sounds like a plan until you look at Glen Oaks and you notice Glen Oaks, total 120 acres. In 120 acres, they have 25 homes, right? So that makes 17, if you count them, 17 that are over, or 17 of the 25 are near or over 4 acres, some 6 and 7 acres. 8 total are 3 to 3.5 or under, right? 8, that's 70% of the 3-acre subdivision that is actually closer to 5, 6, and 7 acres. There's less lots on more land, and they're claiming to have some kind of a hardship involved with cutting that down when they have 100 acres and they're gonna put almost 30, 28, right? So what does that come out to? Let's look at it. If you do the math, you get the same density as Glen Oaks with 19.6 homes per acre, right? Or not per acre, but you get where I'm going. 19.6. 19.6 lots total for the area. Rounded down, that's 19. That's 5 acre minimums. What did Glen Oaks get? They got 5 acres. If they would have stuck with 5 acre zoning, 120 acres, that's 24 homes. They have 25 homes there. They got 1 extra, right? Does that make sense? Because they were asking for 9 to 10 extra in this part that they're proposing to rezone. If they would stick to the 5 acre minimums, they would have to make up 9 homes. Instead, they're squeezing as many homes as they can into this area for profit. And if there's not any more proof, it's that right there. You can do it. It's been profitable up the street. They're using it as precedent. So do what you wanted to be, right? You want to be them? Do it.
Thank you.
I ask one more thing. There should be a remonstrance filed for this. Is that not filed? It wasn't on the docket. I have copies of all the turned in paperwork, 10 of them. So there should be 14, but I have Xeroxed copies. No. Can I turn these in to make sure that it gets, because there should be, like I turned them in 2 weeks before. They're all stamped and everything. I have an email here. It's an email from Brenda saying that she Xeroxed them wrong the first time. And so she amended it and resent out the email to Mr. Myers is CC'd on it. And it was said to replace the ones that she did the first time because she sent them over without the page that had the signatures and a stamp on it. And so they would have been moot. But
there's not one,
I didn't check until afterwards. But either way, they were turned in and they were legit. She rescanned them and
Okay.
they had a week to figure it out. Sorry. Do you want these? No. I'll give you a copy.
Since we're voting on it tonight, I don't think so. Okay.
Steve-
Claire?
Steve Valentine.
Thank you. My name's Doug Tiemann. I'm an engineer with CEC. I am here representing Lombardo Homes.
Thank you.
Real quickly, I know you've seen this or looked through the material. I want to hit the highlights of the subdivision. First of all, this subdivision exceeds the requirements of the 2030 master plan. We have 1 unit in 3.15 acres. It's what we're proposing. Our parking will meet 18 spaces per lot. That counts the garage parking, which will be all minimum 3-car garages with aprons, with driveways and parking on one side of the street. The drainage, 97.6% of our drainage stays on our site and drains through our property. We will also have a 100-foot undisturbed vegetative buffer over that waterway. Our plan also preserves 91.7% of the tree mass, and the largest adjoiners, Smith and the Grappendens, both support this development. And the plat meets the technical requirements of Chapter 410 of the UDO. And I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Claire?
On Bill 5206, Harry Daw.
Hello, everybody. My name's Harry Daw, 340 Point Loma Boulevard. This is the Summers Road project. It's my understanding that I believe it's been voted down already. I'm not really here to necessarily oppose the project. I'm really here to talk about the 60-foot lot thing in regards to St. Charles County as a whole. I would really encourage, one of the things on this project, I'd say if these were 65-foot lots, I wouldn't have a problem with it. One of the things on the Too Talls thing as well, they had 29 lots were 60-foot lots. One of the things on the 60-foot lots are you can't put a 3-car garage on them. And if you can't put a 3-car garage on them, you have a lot of off-street parking. And that's particularly dangerous, I believe, when it comes to, as somebody who almost wiped out a 6-year-old who darted out from behind a car, I think that's a dangerous situation. So there's not a builder in the world who builds a house that, you always have, you got 20 feet of living area, you have 10 feet for each driveway, for each garage, so you got 10 feet, so now you're at 40 feet. If you have a 3-car garage, now you're at 50 feet. All right, so if you, R1E zoning is 7-foot setbacks, you're at 64 feet. You need 1 foot for leeway, so you need 65 feet. Let's say you give them a 6-foot setback, you need a minimum 63 feet. Okay, so one of the things that Brazel has said is, what do you want St. Charles County to look like? Okay, so I would say in regards to any project in St. Charles County, I would say let's just not do any 60-foot lots unless they're stragglers inside of a subdivision, maybe at an entrance, going around the corner, things along those lines. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Eric Fields.
Good evening. My name is Eric Fields. I live at 11 Wild Turkey Run. Initially, I was here for tall trees, but we're done with that, so I won't be speaking on that. This project on Summers Road, I know it's also been turned down this evening as well. I was here actually in support of, I believe it was Mr. Dick Herber, who is the landowner next door. And he did raise a good point. The man's been there for decades, and in the event that there is an attempt at a future construction done on this Summers location, the man was asking for a privacy fence so that he could continue to enjoy the use of the lake that he's lived next to for all these years. And I felt it was important to get up here, and I know last time that's all he was asking for was a privacy fence from the developer so that he could use his lake, and the developer's argument was, well, there's a lake between us and his house. That doesn't change the fact that the man's been there for however long he has, enjoying the privacy of his lake, and that he wasn't fighting the development. He was just simply asking that he gets to maintain the privacy for his lake. So I just wanted to come up and suggest that in the event that there is a development put there in the future, if he still would like to keep his privacy, I would believe that should be something that he's given. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Senate Bill 190, Greg Modlish.
Good evening. My name is Greg Modlish. I live on Terry Road in Augusta in St. Charles County. So SB 190 authorizes the county to grant a property tax to eligible taxpayers residing in that county. Providing such county has adopted an ordinance authorizing that credit. I believe that is what you should do. It also authorizes a petition in support of that credit to be delivered to the governing body of the county and is subsequently submitted to and approved by the voters as described in the act. That requires 5% of the voters in the previous gubernatorial election to sign that petition. To me, that seems kind of antagonistic to the voters, so I would not recommend you do that. Eligible taxpayers are, as you can imagine, they're basically retired people eligible for Social Security benefits. Now, I believe you all have run for office and been elected under the Republican banner. The Missouri GOP platform states that we believe government governs best when it governs least. We believe all political power is vested in and derived from the people. All government originates from the people and is founded upon their will only, and that Missouri families can be trusted to know how to spend their money more wisely than government. In my estimation, the will of the people was expressed by our duly elected state representatives through SB 190 and the resulting revised statute 137.1050. And to frustrate that will at the county level would be viewed as confrontational, to say the least, I believe. No agency will suffer a loss of revenue as a result of this act, only a freeze in current revenue on a very small percentage of taxpayers who are also retirees. Why would county government, any county, be afraid of that? Because of threatened fake lawsuits, because of other taxing districts feeling like they're losing money, but nobody's losing any money. It's just a freeze on retirees. So having said that, I understand that there might be a workshop on this coming up in August. I look forward to that, look forward to participating in that, and I hope you will continue to take this issue very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
In the library, Chris Barrett.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Barrett, and I'm here to represent my organization, Gays Against Groomers. I am co-director of chapters across the United States, but I am also the leader of our chapter here in the state of Missouri. I'm also here because it became to my organization's attention that many parents here in St. Charles are concerned that a man who works in the children's section of the St. Charles County Public Library is dressing inappropriately in front of kids. Gays Against Groomers is a national organization of LGBT people that oppose the sexualization, indoctrination, and medicalization of children. Thankfully, the state of Missouri has banned the medicalization or so-called gender-affirming care for kids, but we certainly still have issues with the sexualization and indoctrination of kids, and that is exactly what is going on in your public library. A man dressed in women's clothing and makeup is absolutely not appropriate in a place that is intended to serve the general public. Children are very impressionable and naturally curious. When they see someone who is obviously a man dressed up in drag, they are going to have questions for their parents. These are questions that these parents rightfully may want to not talk about right now or delay discussing with their kids. It's not up to this man or the county library to decide for these parents when the appropriate time to discuss these types of issues is. Libraries should be neutral places that cater to all sorts of beliefs. They shouldn't be allowing one man to determine what is most important for these parents or forcing an issue onto kids that parents may not be ready to discuss. Unfortunately, the library doesn't seem to give a damn about their patrons or the kids that they may be exposed to this guy. They have refused time and again to do anything about it. They care more about protecting the political interests of one man than the thousands of people here in St. Charles County. That's why I'm turning to you now, the members of this council. I understand you have a resolution that addresses this issue, but unfortunately it's non-binding. That basically means it won't accomplish anything. It's time that this council and the executive does more and all that they can to force the library to enforce a professional and neutral dress code that is appropriate for the general public, not just a select few that may be beholden to a certain political belief. I've said this before publicly, and I'll say it here again. It's hard to be a public figure in politics. It's especially hard to go up against the alphabet mafia, otherwise known as the LGBTQIA+ community. I am a gay man. I have a husband. I don't hate my community, but I do not like what is being done to kids. But because I have publicly challenged the agenda of the more woke side of my community, I've been called a transphobe, a bigot, a Nazi, and most hilariously of all, I've been called a homophobe. Trust me, you will get called all of these things as well. But sometimes we have to ignore all that and just do the right thing. It's hard. I have a lot lately taken the stance of...
Thank you,
Can
sir.
I finish real quick?
I give you 10 seconds.
Oh,
Wrap it
okay,
up.
okay. You seem like good people. I just want to make sure that hopefully you can sleep peacefully tonight and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Rachel Homelite.
I discovered back in May that the St. Charles City County Libraries allow cross-dressing employees, men with facial hair dressing like women, and intentionally having them run the children's section of the library. The drag librarian's name, he is a real person, and I've never lied about this experience. Like I reiterated at the last library board meeting, drag is always confusing and harmful to children. Children are unable to understand drag because their brains don't develop the ability to discern imagination from reality until close to age 12. This is why they believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. It is so important for you to make sure that the children of St. Charles County are protected from this psychological warfare. So many families are being forced into having these difficult conversations like Chris just mentioned. It's not fair to them. So either they're not going to the library, or unfortunately they may be witnessing this sexual predator, and they have to explain these things and talk to their kids about this. This is not fair. He's not a parent. Why should he be given special parental powers over families who just want to check out some library books? Parents are being forced to either surrender to this disgusting sexual ideology or pay for a resource anyway that was meant to be for everyone, but clearly it is not right now. Libraries are to be kept neutral. Progressive ideologues don't own the library. Leftists don't own the library. Thank God Jay Ashcroft severed Missouri ties with the Marxist American Library Association on July 7th. Woohoo! That's right. The library does not exist so you can sexually express yourself in front of children. The library does not exist so you can push sexual agendas on children. The library exists for all to come and learn and partake in the community, no matter our differences. The libraries are 90% paid for by the St. Charles taxpayer. Conservative taxpayer dollars are literally being held hostage right now. Power-hungry library CEO Jason Kuhl and all of the liberal library trustees that Steve Ellman and Dan Borgmeyer appointed are laughing at every single one of you, including me. Are you going to continue to allow them to do that and overpower you? Don't. Put an end to this, please. Don't allow them to bully you and bully the majority of the St. Charles citizens. I urge all of you to sign the resolution, make it binding, and demand common sense neutrality. You can put an end to this so that everyone can access the library, but more importantly, you have the power to save the children of St. Charles from this abuse. Thank you.
Mr. Dino?
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dinoff, County Public Advocate. And in my opinion, we need to watch very closely Brad Goss, attorney for numerous developers and land holding companies. His ways, his twisting of the facts, and especially his effect on our neighborhoods, on our community, and traffic information needs to be watched very closely. Last week, Brad Goss, his law partner and law firm appeared before the County Board of Equalization asking for millions of dollars in tax breaks and low real estate value assessments when we all had raises of 24 to 32%, which means lower taxes for his client, Mr. Greg Whitaker, Preserve Research Park Golf Course and Clubhouse, Wentzville Golf Club, and the Board of Equalization had the guts to soundly, without hesitation or reservation, said no change in your tax bill and no tax cuts on any of your golf course or country clubs. Now, County Council and Mr. Myers, the Director of Planning, let's negotiate a true, less dense tall tree. There is zero space for more students. Have tall tree developers donate land in the building of the schools at their expense and not taxpayers' expense. Now we have a firing range expansion. It's being paid for by the FBI of 25 lanes, which will increase the lanes for the county to 55 firing lanes. There are 500 to 600 law enforcement employees countywide, and I ask that we look at an intergovernmental cooperation which will save taxpayer money in the long run. O'Fallon has a bill which was first read last Thursday that is $2.5 million, and St. Charles has donated $2.5 million for another 20 lanes that are 200 feet lanes, and that's behind the sewer plant off of Highway 79. $12 million was cut out of the state budget by Governor Parson for a law enforcement center in O'Fallon. And I ask, instead of everybody going individual ways, let's work together and save taxpayer money. Now, right here in this building, there's a bill on the consent agenda to replace all lower bowl permanent and retractable seating to the tune of $3.2 million. If you look at these seats right here, the green ones, I don't see anything wrong with them. Why are we expending taxpayer dollars of $3.2 million? It makes no sense, and it's a total waste. The family arena is not a moneymaker. It's actually losing in the hole most years. Now, Car Hill Incorporated, why don't we reach out to the municipalities for bulk discount and to save taxpayer money? The actual contract is $595,725, not the $600 that's in your consent agenda, and I ask that you talk to the road superintendent to verify that. Asphalt work within the parks, the cost of this project is
Thank you, sir.
$1.2 million. If I could have 10 seconds like everybody else,
You
Mr.
got it.
Chairman.
Go.
$1.2 million for asphalt. Is it really, truly needed? And finally, I want to thank Barnes Jewish St. Peter's Progress West Foundation for the donation of a black Labrador Retriever puppy to our police department, which is fully
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
therapy dog.
Appreciate it.
And
That's
the
good.
Duncan Creek Sanitary District
Miss-
Board of Trustees shall be appointed
Thank you, Mr.
and
Dino. Thank you,
accountable
Mr.
to the
Pollock.
residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dino. Shouldn't have given 10 seconds.
On elections, Andrew Pollock.
Hi. In response to the wire cutting scandal, which many of you folks here concerned about your development might want to look into because elections result in consequences, the election director and his assistant have provided multiple explanations. We believe 4 so far of his statements since the Cut the Wires video was made public. Which statement are we supposed to believe? 4 different statements to try and make cover for an irresponsible and unprofessional statement that, if true, is illegal and decertifies the already questionably certified election machines. We know you have a letter from the Secretary of State regarding this scandal. I and others I work with have seen this letter. I would caution you in thinking that this letter, with very little evidence or proof attached, if any, is any definitive answer to what occurred in this situation. We don't consider it proof of anything. The Secretary of State is in an election year where he wants to be the governor next year. Of course he's going to say that there's no problem there. Further recourse is by no means ruled out by law enforcement or private citizens around this issue. Let me give you an example of what's going on right here in the state right now. Residents of Osage County have recently filed a complaint about election issues where the Secretary of State's office has allegedly committed violations of numerous existing election laws. The Secretary of State, not surprisingly, said there's nothing there. The Sheriff of Osage County has an open investigation against the Secretary of State and other local participants around the alleged violations. He's interviewed the Secretary of State himself and his staff, and criminal charges may be forthcoming from this incident. No one accepts the word of government on its face anymore, as the explanations are not lining up with reality. So you're aware, a group of prominent citizens with no shortage of personal resources and access to many more have their own investigators and are in discussions to file a lawsuit against the county for its refusal to investigate this and other election integrity issues in St. Charles County. Optically, this council looks inept or worse in addressing this scandal. Back to the letter from the Secretary of State. It's a company executive from a voting machine company with a vested interest in the outcome asking us to believe him and providing no proof besides his words and some pictures. That isn't evidence, or it's not reliable evidence. If any change is made to these machines, an engineering change order needs to exist, and they need to be recertified. I have a letter right here, from your own legal folks, that says that those documents don't exist. There's no documents. Your role in the county council, you have personal liability, not to mention reputational liability. And quite frankly, that may become quite a problem for you in the future with this scandal. Sunshine requests from the election authority are being delayed. If documents exist, they shouldn't take that long. You know, Republicans, of which you all, I believe, say you are, we're really frustrated with the two-tier justice system we see all over the country. People that are elected, people, bureaucrats, people with money, they get off. This is a prime example of that situation. You got to realize there's a cloud of suspicion over this county. And
Thank
until
you,
you
sir.
do something about these issues,
Thank you,
no
sir.
one believes these elections. They're not going to.
Okay. Thanks, sir. Claire?
Mary Ann Boatwright.
It's about right.
I'm Mary Ann Boatwright, and I'm talking about election integrity and the HAVA grant. Let's say you told your child to clean their room and you'd pay them allowance. If your child didn't clean their room for 2 months, would you give them an allowance? Of course not, since it would encourage bad behavior and you'd miss a teachable moment on responsibility and consequences. Councilman Brazel requested election authority documents of May 23rd and to my knowledge has not received them. His constituents deserve answers. This council has responsibility to fund or withhold funds. HAVA election grant should not be approved until documents are provided. If you approve it, you're telling voters you don't care about their election concerns. Citizens are confused about the election authority story, which one is correct. We were told director and deputy director cut wires and broke device and a jack in the election machines. Then we were told they were trying to trip up the election integrity experts. Then we were told it was a euphemism. Then we were told the vendor made the change. We were told we should have asked for further clarification. Taxpayers expect elected officials to tell the truth, even if it's ugly. We can handle the ugly truth because so many of us probably already know it and are willing to work with you to fix it. Why was testing done in November for a January change on our election machines? Standard operating procedure is to test immediately after a change before promoting to a production environment. Does this invalidate our April and November elections? What is significant about the January 2021 change? Does it seem unusual that it occurred soon after the November 2020 election? Shouldn't we have kept that environment intact for at least 22 months to obtain accurate audit? Councilman Swanson asked for Apollo Election Authority review results targeted second week of July to be posted on website. Where is it? Continued resistance may be putting St. Charles County at risk of legal exposure, and taxpayers don't appreciate that. This council needs to take a position with the people to get to the truth, because the truth will come out. If I were you, I'd get ahead of it. And because the longer this continues, the less opportunity for this council to claim plausible deniability. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
The final speaker.
That's the final speaker. Okay. That concludes public comments. The next thing on the agenda is an oral report from the county executive.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, at the request of Mr. Elam, I've asked Janie Albright with our emergency management to come and give a little update as part of my presentation before I speak on the storm this weekend.
Okay.
On what?
The storms.
What?
Storms.
Good evening. I'm Janie Albright. I'm the Assistant Director of Emergency Management here at the county. And I was asked to just give you guys a briefing about the storms we experienced this weekend. So first of all, these storms began in Nebraska and tracked southeast across multiple states, leaving a swath of destruction and debris between Nebraska and Kentucky. About 2:47 p.m. on Saturday, the National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm warning for St. Charles County, and the staff of emergency management responded to and activated the Emergency Operations Center so that they could monitor the progression of the storm and collect damage report information. We had widespread winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. One storm spotter in St. Charles actually gathered data indicating a 72 mile per hour wind gust. The damages resulting were multiple damages to trees, down on homes, across the roadways, wires that were also down or arcing. And we did experience rumored reports of a tornado in the area of Highway 79 in Salt Lick. However, the National Weather Service and some of the news meteorologists did say that that was unsubstantiated. There were damages to several tents at the St. Charles County Fair. However, there were no injuries, and the fair went on and reopened after the severe weather ended, although without some of the food tents. At the peak, there were approximately 18,600 outages from Ameren and 5,900 outages from Quiver River. We did not activate any sirens. We did receive some questions about that. The sirens were not activated because they did not meet any of the criteria. The criteria being a 80 mile per hour or greater wind speed and or baseball-sized hail. That would qualify it as what the National Weather Service tags as a destructive thunderstorm. And also there was no tornado warning issued. Those are two of our main criteria for activating the sirens, and that's why there was no siren activation this weekend. And then these are just some images from some damages, mostly in O'Fallon area. The two radar images are showing some of the maximum wind speeds between 60 and 70 miles per hour up in the area of Flint Hill and St. Paul. As of 7 p.m. this evening, at my last check, Ameren outages were down to 186, and Quiver River was down to just 2. And all of those outages were centered in the area of St. Paul and northern O'Fallon. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. County Executive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Just one matter. At the beginning of the meeting, you talked about tabling, and I thought that was great that you instructed people on how that works. In the past, when we've had a very controversial thing like this, it's kind of been the practice to go ahead and let people know ahead of time when it's going to be, when it may come off the table. Right. And I think maybe at the next meeting or well, a lot of people are gone already, but I don't want these people to feel like they have to come to every meeting because you might take it off them. So I think it would be good to make that clear. I'm very happy that you did table the Tall Bridge proposal, and want to talk a little bit about not necessarily that in particular, but that whole area in general. And first of all, let me just give you a little history. First of all, the adoption of planning and zoning. St. Charles County adopted planning and zoning in 1954. And when they adopted it, 11 of the 12 precincts in the city of St. Charles voted for it, and only 8 of the 19 precincts elsewhere in the county voted for it. It was something that the rural people in St. Charles County were very much against, and I assume it was the same reason many today, just don't like the idea of government telling them what to do. But another bit of history here that I really want to make people to understand is this adoption of the 5-acre minimum. I think, Mr. Brazel, you may have sponsored that bill back when I was the Director of Administration. And you know why you sponsored it. I know that one of the reasons the administration endorsed it and worked for its passage was that what we saw in the past was people moving to St. Charles County when you could put a house on 3 acres in an agricultural area. So what we were seeing was people coming out in neighborhoods developing as 3-acre lots. And that was perfectly legal, and no one really had a problem with it until it became time to decide, for you all to decide how the rest of that area is going to be developed. And we had a lot of people showing up and said, well, that's already 3-acre lots. Well, maybe that's what it should be. But I think that's something that the council should decide through the master plan and your various zoning activities. So that's why I think, and that's why I supported the 5-acre minimum. The fact of the matter is, all of us, well, I have a vision for that second district. I have a vision for each of your districts as to what I think it ought to be, and more importantly, I guess, as being the only one elected countywide, I have a vision for the entire county. It's important that each of you have a vision, not only for your district, but for the county as a whole. Now, there's some of the things that we've been talking about here. I just want to remind you, really aren't relevant. There's been questions about roads, and you all know how that works. Mr. Brazel, 10, 12 years ago, when there were half as many people in this district, or a lot less for sure, Highway DD was a very dangerous road. And when we went to MoDOT, they said, well, there's not enough traffic on it, we can't do anything. Well, there were people dying, so the county put in half the money, MoDOT put in half the money, and we worked together to get that fixed. That's what's going to happen if that area continues to develop. Eventually, MoDOT, and maybe with our help, and definitely with our encouragement, is going to respond to it. The other issue that was raised at the last meeting was the issue of the schools. Okay, the schools are not an issue. In the past, they were a big issue. Back in the 1980s, Francis Howell, the biggest taxpayer in the Francis Howell district was an apartment complex by Friedens Road and Highway 94. They didn't have any commercial, they didn't have any industrial, and it was killing them because the houses didn't support. And in 1993, the legislature addressed that issue, and now what the legislature does is, regardless of what your assessed valuation is, they guarantee you money at the 95th percentile. If we don't have the houses or whatever to pay for it in the district, they make up the difference. So that is just not, should not be part of your considerations. Now, what about O'Fallon? Mr. Baker's district was developed, a lot of it in the 70s and 80s. Mr. Hammond remembers, Duckett Creek provided sewers. There was a water district that provided water districts. The people that developed it didn't have to go to St. Peter's or St. Charles. They could come to the county. And I wasn't around then, but I think the county did a pretty good job in doing it. Then we had the rest of the Golden Triangle that developed. And there's a big sections of it that were 20, 30 years ago were very rural. When people wanted to develop it, they had to go to the cities because Duckett Creek couldn't serve them. We didn't have any other option. They went to the cities, mainly to O'Fallon, some to Wentzville, some to Lake St. Louis, some to St. Peter's, whatever. Fact is now, we do have a Duckett Creek sewer going into that area, and again, that's something you consider. Now, because we didn't have the ability as a county to provide sewer and water, here's what happened with O'Fallon. That's 1969. That's the year I graduated from high school. 77, 86, 2000, 2010, 2020. All right? I don't have a crystal ball, and neither do you. So we can all speculate about what will or won't happen if we don't work with the developer to get something that they can live with and that you can live with. And I just want to really encourage all of you to do that. Now, again, you have your own vision. Mr. Brazel's vision is, and he feels very strongly about it, he does a great job of representing the people in his district, but his vision is mainly 3-acre lots. And my vision is somewhat different. I think that the area of the 2nd District is in 2 different watersheds. It's in the Femisage watershed, it's in the Darden watershed. And I feel very strongly that the Femisage watershed, and if you look at it, this is the Femisage watershed. It's mainly forested, it's wooded. The areas that aren't wooded are in creek floodplains. That is the area that I think should be 5-acre lots from now for eternity. No doubt about it. When you look at the Darden area, the Darden watershed, and on that lower end, there's a lot of areas just like Femisage. And those are the areas probably should, in the future, have 3-acre lots, or maybe even just leave them at 5. But there's a large section of that area you can see that used to be farmland. And again, it's going to have sewers, and I think that's an area where more intense development can take place. If you want a comparison, I think the Femisage probably should develop like Wildwood in St. Louis County. I think this area here probably should develop more like Chesterfield. And the kind of things that I would love to see in that area, of course, I don't have a vote on this. The people I appoint and you approve to the Planning and Zoning Commission basically left me out of it because they didn't approve it, and that's fine. But the thing about it is that this entire area, and Joe's vision, it's not going to work. I mean, he gave us some numbers last meeting, and I appreciate him doing the research on that, about $328,000 houses not being able to support the schools, and talked about 900,000, but also 635. And again, I represent everybody in the county, and you can see here, this is the breakdown. There's only 3.3% of the people in this county, including myself, there's 97% including myself, who don't live in a house that's worth $685,000. Even in the 2nd council district, only about almost 10%, or less than 10% of the people live in a house that size. So, do we need more $685,000 houses in that part of the county? Absolutely. Can they all be that? No. And that's where the challenge is for you, not only on this proposal, but on other proposals going forward. What kind of development would I like to see? In that area, where it's not a lot of trees or where there's used to be a farm ground, I'd love to see something like Whitmore. You all remember when Whitmore was developed, and Weldon Springs itself is a product of fear that O'Fallon was going to annex that area and do to it what it had done to the rest of its city, and the people out there created Weldon Springs, and they approved things like Whitmore. 1.66 single-family homes per acre. How's that happen? Well, because they have a golf course in there. All right, but when you figure in the golf course and the houses, it's 1.66 per acre. Lake St. Louis started back in the 70s. Dave, I'm sorry again, but you remember all this stuff as I do. The people that owned that property were afraid they were going to be annexed into O'Fallon or Wentzville, and they went ahead and developed this as a county project and then created a new city so that they couldn't be annexed by O'Fallon and Wentzville. But what was the density of that? 1.39 acres. Now, Tallbridge has 1.52 homes per acre. So it's in the ballpark. Not conclusive proof you should do this thing, or certainly not conclusive that you shouldn't. But the difference with Tall Tree is that while as Lake St. Louis has a lake, okay, and Whitmore has a golf course, this project has a lot of green space,
a lot of area that's in a floodplain that could be filled and homes built on it. Instead, the floodplain will be preserved. A lot of the forest will be preserved. And I just hope, again, that y'all can work something out with the developer, and if I can be any assistance on doing that, please let me know. And thank you for all the time you have spent on this project.
Thank you, sir. All right. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, sir. I'd like to remove the family arena.
Okay, Mr. Brazel would like to remove the family arena roof, is that correct? Which one?
Second.
Oh,
Okay.
the seats and the roof, just one.
Okay, Mr. Baker.
Same one.
Same one.
Yeah, family
Okay.
arena.
I'm sorry, was it roofs or, I can't hear him.
Yeah, the family arena,
No, but just.
And the facilities.
and the facilities, okay.
Just do the whole category of family
The
arena.
the whole category of family arena, which would include a bowl seating replacement, roof replacement, and so on, okay? Do I have a motion to remove those items?
Motion to second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those two items are removed. Do I have a,
Motion to approve as amended?
okay, I have a second? Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second to approve the rest of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the consent agenda has passed with the exception of the two things that are removed. Mr. Brazel, Mr. Baker.
Well,
Go ahead, Joe.
just on the roof portion, I did talk to Christine and Bob today, and my ask was to make the warranty good for 72-mile-an-hour winds, and that's 55, and that would be not to exceed $2,000 in extra warranty charges. It's well worth the risk. I mean, it's worth the money, and they thought that would be what they would like to do. So that should be included, part of the conversation or part of the record. Other than that, I will be abstaining from this because I'm in the roofing industry and I know most of the contractors, so I will be abstaining.
Mr. Baker.
I guess, we're spending about $5 million on the family arena, which, and I kind of, looking at the chairs, what's the issue? I mean, why are we spending this money on replacing the seats?
I can address that. The money that you see going to the chairs here in the lower, it would be in the lower bowl here, not the upper bowl. A large portion of the money that you see in this price tag has to do with the fact that we have a retractable seating system where presently those seats are pushed back to about where you see the gray bars here, just above the black curtain. The retractable seating systems are really the core of this project because we have the mechanical systems in the original seating system. Building was built in 1999. The mechanical system is shot. It takes a great deal of manual effort to pull out and then to retract the mechanical systems. That's the biggest part of the dollars that you're seeing in this project. The seats that you see above the bars there, the fixed seating is a smaller portion. Of course, there's a cost to it, but the lower concourse and the bowl seating here on the lower side are the seats that get the majority of wear. And its building is 24 years old in September, and it has not had any significant upgrades or restorations and replacement in its history. The money that's being used for these projects is the seats are being funded by a grant that we received when COVID hit. Entertainment venues were given well, the title of the program is called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. It's about $3 million, and that's taking care of the bulk of the seats. The roof and the parking lot that you see on the agenda are being funded through ARPA funding, where The Family Arena is a mass casualty response site, and we saw a lot of that activity during COVID. So the roof project and the parking lot are funded through ARPA funding, not through any part of our normal capital projects funds or general funds. So it's time to put some money into the building, frankly.
But I thought that there was maybe some interest in other folks, private entities, maybe purchasing it or looking at purchasing the Family Arena, and I just want to know if spending $5 million on it without that decision being made, whether we're going to do that, is a wise move.
There's honestly, there has never been a credible offer.
Have we gone out to RFPs, or, I mean, when's the last time?
No, we have never solicited a buyer for this building, and I don't believe that's the intention of this administration. We have had people approach us. We've had one very recently that came to us, and it's not feasible for us to even entertain. So it is not on our radar to sell this building anytime soon.
Mr. Elam.
So I would like to say I'm in favor of upgrading this building and using these funds to do this. When you look at all the events that we have at this building in this community, there is no other venue in this area that can do what this building does for our community. I think pretty much every high school in this area has their graduation here. There are an awful lot of graduations that happen from across the river that come over here to use the Family Arena because, quite frankly, they don't have a venue in their community that's able to do this. I know some people have talked about the Family Arena doesn't make a lot of money. I look at this building, and you don't have to agree with me, but I look at this building much like we look at a county park, which I'm sure Ryan cringes every time I say that, but our county parks don't make us money. But our county parks increase the quality of life for every one of our citizens. And I would never ask that our county parks are a moneymaker. I would ask that they fulfill an area for our citizens that improves the quality of their life. And I think the Family Arena, in many ways, fulfills a great quality of life for our citizens, and they fill a hole in our community that we won't be able to do anywhere else. And I appreciate the fact that this building, while it could use an awful lot, more than the $4 million that we're talking about with the roof and the seats, to get it to a venue that would be something like they have downtown that you're going to look at the Enterprise Center. This is not going to be confused for that. However, it is a great building with great potential for our community, and there's a lot of things that I think if we keep it up, it's going to continue to give us years of enjoyment and fulfill a great purpose in our community. So with that, I would ask that we approve this.
Can I respond? I mean,
Sure.
I don't disagree, it serves a purpose, but I've come to find out that private entities that run stadiums probably run a better stadium and have a nicer stadium. And if you look at the Enterprise Center, that's not a public stadium, is it? It's private. So
No.
I just think that.
No, it's not.
Huh?
It's a public.
It's owned by the
Okay. But I mean, $5 million is a lot of money, I think, to be spending on this arena at this time without fully understanding what we're going to do with it. So that's just my position. Thank you.
One more comment. Is it the stuff, if you're going to keep the building or sell the building, you still probably need to do some of the improvements. However, I would just beg the difference. The parks are a lot different than a facility like this because this is a capitalistic venture. The government should not be involved in doing this kind of stuff, selling concerts and stuff like that. It's not what we should do. We shouldn't be competing against wedding venues with our parks having these wedding venues. We shouldn't be competing against people who have hospitality industries, or we shouldn't be competing against people running concerts. And I don't believe that's what the government's supposed to do. That's the difference between a park, because you can't make money with a park, but you can make money with these things if they're run properly. But I mean, but back to the point, if you're gonna own a building, you gotta maintain it.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept these two items for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay. And a
Point of
second?
order, I think we have to do them separately. So
All right.
I would make a motion that we approve the roof with Mr. Brazel's comments.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstain.
Abstain and opposed. Okay. All right, then, that passes. Now we need a motion to accept the seating.
Motion to approve the seating?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed.
All right, so that passes also. Okay, now we move on to bills for final passage, beginning with bill number 5203.
Bill number 5203, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to C2 General Commercial District for application RZ 23-07.
Questions or comments on 5203?
And this is one that they requested to be tabled as well.
Okay, I need a motion to table this particular bill.
Motion to table.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Okay, bill 5203 has been tabled. Next up is bill number 5204.
Bill number 5204, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District per application RZ 23-09.
Questions or comments?
I got good comments. On this particular piece of ground, if you all remember, they came to us with this on 3-acre zoning about a little bit over a year ago. If you look at the master plan, it does fulfill the obligation of the master plan, 3 acres. However, it was voted down because I particularly don't like 3-acre lots at all, and a lot of people in that area don't like 3-acre lots. They prefer 5. 5 acres is the minimum, with the exception to come into plan zoning and get in a variance on 3 acres. In this particular situation, this lot here, after it was turned down, they started negotiating with New Melly. And I know this to be true because I know the mayor and I know a lot of folks that are county council members there. And New Melly was negotiating with them to have less than 3-acre lots. And they were having a conversation, and when I was talking to the mayor, who's a good friend of mine, he was saying that he could not control that council because they were entertaining smaller lots, maybe 1-acre lots, maybe 1.5-acre lots, but whatever the case may be, they weren't going to hold to the 3-acre minimum. And every time that we kind of like what Mr. Ullman was saying, we have to consider throwing up dams for Winsville and New Melly. We have to. And so if you go with 3-acre lots on this particular instance, it's not the best solution, but it is a solution because it stops the potential for Winsville to expand, and it stops the potential for New Melly to annex it and have smaller lots. So with that being said, a lot of it's not contiguous now. That's the problem. Our annexation laws in the state of Missouri are really bad for people who live in unincorporated county. It does not benefit any of us. We don't have a say, which we have met with our state legislators. I have, and they are going to work according to them. We will work on them changing the laws because our state laws are not good. And as a matter of fact, St. Charles County, I think they changed that years ago, the legislators, to just benefit St. Charles County. I don't think there's only a few counties that can do what they do to people in unincorporated county. We don't have a say. It's completely unfair. And so we're going to work on the state laws and then work on other things too, but sometimes you got to throw up a defense. I know you don't like it. I don't like it either. I'm just saying those are our choices. And so I'm going to support this because I talked to the developer about this, and they were trying to do other options, and we just got to figure out we got to also have a defense. And in this particular instance, it's not the best solution, but it is a solution. So I'm going to support this.
Well,
I
really don't like. Yeah, I would like to just point out, I was on the planning and zoning about 14 months ago when this first came up, and I voted against it then. This came before us about a year ago, and we voted it down. And here we are a year later, and I don't know if the developer just thinks that we've kind of forgotten what we did a year ago, but this is exactly the same thing that was before us a year ago. The exact same thing that we voted down, okay? And, my own feeling is that, it's really kind of disingenuous for us to vote something down and then turn around a year later with no changes whatsoever and vote for it. So that's just my opinion.
There is one change. You got 2 new council members.
Well, okay, there is a change. Okay. All right, are there any other comments on this particular bill?
I would point out that I did vote for it a year ago. So I'm voting for it again this time. It was 3 acres then, and for all the reasons that Mr. Brazel talked about, I think we need to vote for some 3-acre lots in that particular area. It fits the continuity. I think it makes a rural residential neighborhood.
It's the master plan, too.
It fits the master plan. It's in the area that when we did the master plan, we agreed that area would be 3-acre lots. Kind of going back to the diagram that Mr. Ellman showed, that's what it was. So to Mr. Hollander's point, I just wanted to be clear. Mr. Cronin and I think we're the only two who actually voted for this the last time it was here. One of us is not here anymore, but I'm still voting for this.
Any other comments?
I
Mr.
just
Baker?
want to make a comment. If my understanding, if it was 5 acres, they could have a gravel road. And because it's 3 acres, they have to have a paved street, which I think that benefit right there is immeasurable. I mean, a paved street versus a gravel street, I don't think there's a comparison. So that's why we'll be supporting this development also.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we will call the roll.
Bill number 5204, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to RR Single Family Residential District per application RZ 23-09. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
No.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Okay. Bill number 5204 passes. We now move on to bill number 5205.
Bill number 5205, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from R1A Single Family Residential District to R3A Medium Density Residential District per application RZ 23-10.
Okay, questions, comments on bill number 5205?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Baker.
At Planning and Zoning, I think we had more opposition letters than we did for the tall tree development. And I know the reason probably for that was that the developer went to the adjacent homes in Hunters Point, and they talked about, you told them about the development, so they didn't know, but now they knew, and they filed letters of opposition. So if you guys would just, if you took the time to read all those opposition letters, I think your votes would be no. But that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Elam.
So I don't mean to argue with Mr. Baker all night long, but I feel like I am. So I think when this gentleman, Mr. Green, brought this, it was at the very end of the planning and zoning meeting. He was the very last thing right before 1 o'clock. I think a lot of people were just beat down by that point, and I understand why. And when he first brought this and he showed the plan, I was not thrilled with the plan that he brought. But he spent the time to talk with, I think, most all the council members, if not everybody. He took the comments that people gave of problems that they had with the development that he laid out. He went back, he redid that. I asked him to talk to the fire district. He talked to the fire district. He got some input there. He put basements in this. I think for being a pocket subdivision, I think this is a really good use of this plan. I appreciate the family who spoke before and talked about what their family would like on this land, and this is something that they like. I think if you look at this particular area, you've got a little bit of everything there. You have a former concrete plant who is there. You have a residential subdivision. You have an industrial park right around the corner. You have townhomes. You've got a very mixed use within a square mile of this entire thing. And I think this makes a very good use of this piece of property. And as I told Mr. Green, I'm supporting it.
Any other questions or comments?
I got a comment, Terry.
Yes.
I think this is too high a density. The people in the area are completely opposed to it. This has off-street parking. They don't have garages. It's cramming too much on 2 acres or whatever it is. And Mr. Baker represents this area, and all of his constituents reached out to him. He represents them. It's almost probably 100%, or not saying 99% opposition to it. So I won't be supporting this as well.
Yes,
I was going to leave it alone, but when you look at the map, there are only 3 houses in that Hunter's Ridge
that even partially connect to this, and it's the backyards. So this really, I don't see how this affects Hunter's Ridge. And driving out there, you'll see that, like you've said, there's all kinds of stuff around there. This is not really a residential area at all. There's around there. There's the commercial stuff, all kinds of stuff. So I think this is a really good plan, and I think that Mr. Green did listen. He made some changes, fewer houses, parking, and basements, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Bill number 5205, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from R1A Single Family Residential District to R3A Medium Density Residential District per application RZ-10. Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Okay. Bill number 5205 passes. Next up is Bill number 5206.
Bill number 5206, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to R1E Single Family Residential District per application RZ 23-08.
Questions or comments on this particular bill?
I got a question, Terry.
Yes.
If we turn on the CUP on this, then what does that mean? Do they, Rory?
I think it's two separate things. Is that
Two
correct?
separate.
Sorry,
Roy?
You can't have a CUP.
Mr. Myers, would you answer that question for us?
You got to create the zoning to create a conditional use that then allows you.
The application involves three different components. First, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a plat that was contingent upon this rezoning and the conditional use permit that's on this agenda. So you turned down the conditional use permit, as I understand it, so you still have an opportunity to vote on the rezoning. So should you approve the rezoning, I expect what would happen is the developer would redesign their subdivision plat and submit that to the Planning and Zoning Commission for reconsideration.
Should we table this then?
It's up to you. There's no
Because we
request
don't know
for the
what, if we vote on it, we're not voting on, we don't know what the plot is. So I mean, I think we should table it and then let them tell us what they want to do.
Well, the Planning and Zoning Commission will review and approve the plat, but it's got to be conforming with the zoning.
Yeah, I don't know that we should table it because they just can't, they'll have to put in larger lots if they want to move forward with it. If they're not going to increase the lot size to meet our county regulations, then they're dead in the water, so.
Yeah, what they had requested for the CUP was not smaller lots, but narrower lots and reduced side yard setbacks. So they don't have that now. And now is the question is this the proper place for that R1E zoning?
And does that commit to the master plan in that area?
Yes, yeah. It's across the street from the high school.
Yeah.
And that corridor is being developed for single-family residential subdivisions.
Okay, question here. If we approve this rezoning, obviously the developer will redo the plat. Will that come back to us, or will that just go to the Planning and Zoning?
The plat will go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission should the rezoning be approved, and if they choose to move forward with the subdivision without that CUP.
Okay, thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, please call the roll.
Bill number 5206, an ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to R1E Single Family Residential District for application RZ 23-08. Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
No.
Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes. Okay, the rezoning, which is Bill number 5206, has passed. We move on to Bill number 5207, which has already been tabled. And now we move down to Bill number 5208.
Bill number 5208, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a transportation enhancements funds program agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for for the St. Charles County Bike Walk Phase 1, Federal Project TAP-7303624.
Questions or comments on this particular bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a transportation enhancements funds program agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the St. Charles County Bike Walk Phase 1, Federal Project TAP-7303624. Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5209 passes. Next bill for final passage is 5210.
5209.
I think that was
Fif-
50.
that was
that
Oh,
was
I'm
it.
sorry.
You're up to nine.
We are done. Okay, 5209. I skipped one.
An ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $56,238.41 from the Secretary of State for a grant awarded to the Election Authority for an election efficiency grant to assist with election activities, systems, and equipment maintenance, maintaining voter lists and polling place accessibility, and further amending Ordinance 22-087 by providing supplemental appropriations to the Election Authority Fund budget.
Questions or comments on Bill 5209?
I got a comment.
Yeah, I do, too.
As you all know, I made a request to the Director of Elections on 3 or 4 occasions, asking certain questions. Whether or not the council agrees with my questions or my point of order, I understand that. However, as a Director of Elections and as an elected official that represents District 2, the council should hold directors responsible for providing information to council members that request it. That is imperative. And as a body, of course, we have strength as a body, but that's the only way we're going to have strength, to have the power as an elected official that we are obligated to have. And this is unacceptable. To totally ignore a councilman's request, which my questions are not just, they're logical, critical thinking questions for a purpose. And Mr. Barr is continually ignoring my questions. There's got to be a reason he's ignoring my questions, because my questions do have a point. So I will not support anything for the election authority until my questions. I won't support anything on the budget. I won't support anything, because the questions we're asking, there are people in this county who think that they know that we should have answers. And so if there's something to hide, then why wouldn't you just provide me with what I'm asking for? Otherwise, by ignoring it, that's just wrong. And so I won't support this at all.
Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I would say, I would like to see that this bill be tabled, give Kurt Barr 2 weeks. I mean, he should be providing answers to one of us. If council has a question about the election and some information and he's not providing it, then I have an issue with that. So I think we ought to table it, because I give him 2 weeks, let him respond. If he doesn't, then I would be voting no. So that's my choice.
Are you making a motion?
I'd make a motion to table.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to table this particular bill. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay. Okay. We have tabled the bill 5209. Okay. Bill number 5210.
Bill number 5210, an ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement for a donation to St. Charles County from Barnes Jewish St. Peter's and Progress West Foundation for a certified therapy canine and related training and items.
Questions or comments on 5210? Seeing none, please call the roll.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement for a donation to St. Charles County from Barnes Jewish St. Peter's and Progress West Foundation for a certified therapy canine and related training and items. Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5210 passes, and the final bill for passage is number 5211.
Bill number 5211, an ordinance amending section 130.060 OSCCMO concerning the qualifications of the Director of Finance, amending ordinance 22-087 budget of St. Charles County, deleting the Department of Finance Financial System Administrator, and adding a financial analyst, amending Chapter 127 relating to the Department of Communications, enacting Chapter 122 of the Office of Roads and Traffic, and reclassifying the operations manager position in the Department of Information Systems.
Okay, questions or comments on Bill 5211? Seeing none, please call the roll.
An ordinance amending Section 130.060 OSCCMO concerning the qualifications of the Director of Finance, amending Ordinance 22-087, Budget of the St. Charles County, deleting the Department of Finance Financial System Administrator, and adding a financial analyst, amending Chapter 127 relating to the Department of Communications, enacting Chapter 122 on the Office of Roads and Traffic, and reclassifying the Operations Manager position in the Department of Information Systems. Councilmember Breisel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, bill number 5211 passes. Now we move on to bills for introduction, starting with bill number 5212.
Bill number 5212, requested by Michelle McBride, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Lake St. Louis for the collection of ad valorem real estate tax and ad valorem personal property tax, sewer line repair service fees, and water line repair service fees.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to bill number 5213.
Bill number 5213, requested by Dan Keene and Kurt Frizz, sponsored by Terry Hollander, an ordinance amending the 2023 budget as adopted by Ordinance 22-087 as amended for the reestablishment of 3 kitchen worker positions in the Department of Corrections and further within the St. Charles County Police Department for a reclassification of 4 police officer positions in the Patrol Bureau to the existing position of police sergeant and an amendment to the budget of the Patrol Bureau and realignment of the Division of Emergency Management to the Bureau of the Chief and transferring appropriations between line items in the general fund budget of the Department of Police related to the Division of Emergency Management.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, we move on to tabled bills. Are there any bills to be removed from the table?
I do have a question.
Okay.
On table bills, since we just tabled the election authority grant there. So I guess what I'm voting the affirmative, I would ask for a reconsideration of that tabled bill, because what we're looking at doing, Mr. Baker said I'll vote against it. You do realize this is a receipt of grant from the Secretary of State.
I do realize
So if we
that.
vote against it, please
I
let
do
me finish.
realize that.
Please let me finish.
Yeah.
If we vote against it, we're not accepting a grant from the Secretary of State for $56,000. So this is money that they use for mailing out like the voter cards and things like that. So I would move for a reconsideration of that tabled bill and make it voted on this evening.
I mean, I certainly understand what it means to get a grant, so thank you for clarifying. But if Mr. Brazel has asked for information and Kurt Barr is not providing that, then we got to draw the line somewhere, and that's where I'm drawing the line. So, I mean, we got 2 weeks. Get him the information. He gets him the information. We'll get the grant. So,
I have a comment, Terry.
Sure.
I was going to thank you guys also for going with that vote, because that's the way I would see it. Even if you were requesting information from a director and it was completely ignored, but I didn't agree with your questions, I'd still stick with what you're doing because it's the right thing to do. You can't not give people information, even if you don't like the information I'm asking for. As a body, we're obligated as council members to get information we request. And that's the point, Mike. It's not whether or not you agree with what I'm doing, but as a body, those are things we're entitled to have respect for our office. And that's totally being disrespectful to the office. And my questions, in my view, are not just frivolous nonsense questions. I believe in what I'm doing. Whether if you guys, some of you folks don't agree with me, I understand that, but I believe in what I'm doing, and a lot of my constituents believe in what I'm doing. So that's the purpose of it. It's not because we're getting free money from the Secretary of State. It's to say, as a council body, we're entitled to inquire and ask questions of directors. That's our job, and that's what we should do. And in those instances, we should stick together on the principle of that. That's my opinion.
You know, my point here is I agree that you certainly have the right to that information, okay? And I would encourage...
Mr. Chair, excuse me, point of order. There's a motion on the table with no second.
Okay, do I have a second here?
What's the motion?
The motion is to remove the previously tabled item on elections, to take it off the table.
I second the motion.
Ms. Snyder is going to second the motion, so now it is on
Roll call vote, please.
We can continue the discussion.
roll call vote.
Roll call vote to reconsider the tabled item, to put it back into open discussion, to be able to vote on the item. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Swanson?
Is it yes for, what does that mean? Yes to put it?
Yes to reconsider?
Oh, okay, okay.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
No.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Okay. So we have a 4-3 vote here to remove that bill from the table. So now we will open it up for discussion, and I will continue the point I was trying to make, okay? The point I was trying to make is that I do believe that Mr. Barr should provide you with this information, and I believe that we as a body should encourage him to do that, all right? But I also believe that, you know, other than making a point, not accepting $52,000 or $56,000 that would go to making our elections, run the way they should be run, especially when it comes to, whatever they use the money for. I think that would be kind of foolish. So that's one of the reasons why I agree with you, Joe. I agree with the information should be provided for you. I don't see how us withholding this particular money, is going to contribute to that, other than us encouraging Mr. Barr to do what he wants to do.
Well, Terry, I agree to a degree what you're saying, but it's the only thing we have over that director is the funding. And so if we don't do anything, there's no consequences for his actions. And so we're going to continue doing what we do, then he's going to continue doing what he does. And so that's the problem. I mean, it's, you got to have some kind of consequences, and this board isn't holding anybody responsible for their consequences, and that's all there's to it. And so,
Mr. Swanson, please.
If he was an employee of the county, I think you have a great talking point. He is an elected official. His consequences are his actions at the next election when he is up. That's his consequences. And unfortunately, how we have divided government, that's exactly where we're at, and we really don't have a lot. This is a grant for the state to keep elections moving smoothly. I'm not going to risk elections in the future not to run smoothly by withholding money.
Thank you.
By not me getting my information I'm requesting, you're potentially allowing elections not to run smoothly. That's the problem. So that's a catch-22 right there, okay, Matt? So it goes both ways. I mean, if you don't care about some of the things we're asking, which apparently you don't, then you would stick by the principle of what we're trying to do and not by some just talking points, okay?
Chair, if I can rebuttal real quick, and I'll just end it with this, please.
Mr. Swanson and then Mr. Hammond, I'll
It's
get you. Okay.
very simple that there are consequences. He is an elected official. That's where we are at. You may have a personal disagreement with him. I don't put personal issues on my votes. I vote on what's necessary and I move on. You guys need to figure out how to get along. That's where we're at. And that's all.
Okay, comment. That's absolutely absurd. There's no personal vendetta against the Director of Elections. These are questions that I'm asking because I'm obligated to follow what I believe is correct voting procedures, and I believe those have been violated. And I also, this is not personal, I'm asking very simple questions. Anybody who really understood what was going on, they would ask us the very same questions, but some people just don't care about this sort of thing, and I do. And so that's why I'm asking the questions.
Mr. Hammond.
Yeah, we're not voting it down, we're just tabling it, and we're sending a message that he needs to provide some information that's requested by a member of this county council. So I'm supporting Joe on tabling this.
Okay. All right.
Call the question.
Yes. Call the question. Please call the roll.
This is the, now it's
It's a reconsideration of Bill
reconsideration.
5209.
Yes. Okay. Reconsideration of
It's
Bill
on
number
the bill.
5209. An ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $56,238.40.
This is, just to be clear, this is to vote either up or down on the bill itself.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Reconsideration is
Correct.
done.
That is
Accept the
correct.
funds
So
or not,
Yes.
Everyone understands that, yes.
Sorry. Thank you for that clarification.
An ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $56,238.41 from the Secretary of State for a grant awarded to the Election Authority for an election efficiency grant to assist with election activities, systems, and equipment maintenance, maintaining voter lists, and polling place accessibility, and further amending Ordinance 22-087 by providing supplemental appropriations to the Election Authority Fund budget. Councilmember Brazel?
No.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Hollander?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
No.
Councilmember Schneider?
Yes.
Councilmember Baker?
No.
Councilmember Swanson?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 5209 has passed. Okay, there are no more bills on the table to be considered. Do I have any announcements or miscellaneous? Mr. Baker?
Yeah, I'd like to talk about SB 190, which is the bill to cap property taxes for seniors. I was fortunate enough to meet with the administrative staff and the county councilor about this bill, and there's a reason why no county in the state of Missouri has passed this bill yet, because it's very poorly written. So as I currently understand it right now, our property tax that the county collects is about 3%. So we do not have the authority to cap the property taxes on the school districts, the other political entities, and everything else. So I don't think that was the intent of the Missouri legislature, but that's where we're at. So we are going to have a work session on this in August, and I would invite all the public to show up so you can hear what the issues are with this bill. I mean, it's something that I think the premise is something that we all support, at least I do. I'm speaking for myself, but it just, unfortunately, that's not the bill that was handed to the counties. So that's all I have to say.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
County Executive.
Yeah, Mr. Baker had everything right except for one thing. We don't know for sure that we can't go ahead and lower it for everybody, but it's unclear.
It's unclear.
And the last thing I want to do is pass something and everybody, applauds, and then some judge throws it out. So we're gonna just take some time. Rory will go ahead and give you both sides of the arguments as to what it could mean. We've contacted some of our legislators. They think it does one thing, and we've told them, well, I wish you'd have written it more clearly to show that in fact, is what we can do. But we'll look. I mean, I know everybody here, including me, wants to do something on this bill, wants to give the relief that we can give without getting thrown out of court because we did something that we really weren't supposed to. So it doesn't even go into effect until August 28th, and we got plenty of time to talk about it. And believe me, we will do a lot of talking, and I think in the end we'll have a good bill that will cover all the contingencies.
Yes, Joe?
If you guys watched the Missouri Association of Counties, I think it was July 28, 2023 meeting, it was videotaped, it's somewhat of a long meeting, but the attorney for MAC gave all the talking points why this is a bad plan, talking points to make sure all the 270 county commissioners and county executive, or county whoever was on the meeting, there's 270 people on the meeting, why it wasn't good. But the way I understand the bill is it was written with some vagueness and ambiguity is because the counties were supposed to write it in their ballot language. That's the way I understand it. And so that's why it was like that. So there might be some challenges, but that doesn't mean you do the right thing because there's challenges. I believe that anyone can challenge us, but I think that we have the ability to write the ballot language that fits our county best. And I would disagree with Mr. Baker's comment that we don't have jurisdiction over other tax entities. That's not true. If it was passed and signed by the state legislator, that's who overrides it. So,
We'd be open up for lawsuits, so.
no, you're always open for lawsuits. You don't not do the right thing because you're worried about being sued. However, it's definitely worth a workshop, and so I've requested that along with you a couple times, but we've got no kind of response from the chairman on when a workshop would be set up. It seems like this is an issue being avoided, so that is something that needs to be put on the agenda.
Yeah,
Mr. Chairman.
You did get a response. I did talk to Mr. Baker and said that August the 14th, our first meeting.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, we will, we
Okay,
have.
good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I would just point out the ballot language that is in there, if people are going to petition, the ballot language is done. There is no flexibility for the county to make this up. The language that would be voted on if the public does go to the petition route, that ballot language is clear. It is about 3 lines, and we do not have any flexibility in that ballot language. Furthermore, the council can approve this without it going to ballot. So council has the ability to do that. But I spent an hour and a half with our county attorneys talking about this particular bill. I talked with the collector because she is the one who's going to have to put this into place. And the Collectors Association, along with the counties, all have a lot of questions about what does this mean? Starting with the fact of everybody assumes it's age 62. But as our attorney pointed out to me, I understand that's what they may mean, but that's not what it says in the bill. If I had $1 for every time we said, yes, I understand, but that is not what it says in the bill, I would have had lunch today, easily. There's so many different things, starting with, if you have your property in a trust, do you qualify? There's so many different things that are part of this bill that were written so vaguely. And a lot of people who I've talked to with our state legislators, they said, well, I read it this way. I talked to 3 different state reps who gave me 3 different interpretations of the bill that they passed. Some of them said they thought it only counted on county taxes. To Mr. Baker's point, your real estate tax in this county, your general one is 0. You pay 3% with road and bridge and with our...
Dispatch and alarm.
Thank you. So those are the only 2 taxes that we have. It makes up less than 3% of your overall tax bill. So you're really not going to see much of any discount at all. So if we pass this the way it sits, we work under that assumption, the taxpayers are going to be thinking they're getting this big, huge tax break, and it works out to be maybe $11 if you've got a $300,000 home, which is not what everybody is intending from the legislatures all the way down. So I think we're going to work through a lot of this at this work session. We're going to have the opportunity to try and point out to the folks. I've talked to a few folks who have reached out to me and said, where are we on this bill? And I would tell you, we have more questions than we have answers at this point, and we keep asking the questions and we keep getting different answers. So we're going to do a work session and figure out if we can get a little bit of clarity and understand exactly where we are.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.